Haumatakipe, my name is Sean Sherman. I am a co-founder of our nonprofit NATIFS and CEO of my company, The Sioux Chef, based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am born and raised on Pine Ridge Reservation and enrolled with the Oglala Lakota Sioux tribe. At NATIFS, our two main goals are creating access to Indigenous-focused foodways education, along with facilitating Indigenous food access to our many Indigenous communities across Turtle Island. We run a nonprofit kitchen called Indigenous Food Lab. Our mission with Indigenous Food Lab is to facilitate a lot of Indigenous-focused curriculum, creating a space for Indigenous culinary education and development, to be able to do a lot of food relief where necessary. We're hoping that we can work with tribal communities across Turtle Island to help them to develop more Indigenous food operations everywhere. In this series of videos, we're sharing recipes our culinary team at NATIFS have developed that combine commodity products available through the food distribution program on Indian Reservations, which is FDPIR. On top of that, utilizing Indigenous wild edible foods that we found in our own regions. So if you're in the Midwest or Mountain Plains regions, these recipes are for you. We're hoping that people who have access to the commodity food program will be able to utilize these recipes. On top of that, spending some time outdoors and reconnecting with the nature around them as our ancestors did. We truly believe that bringing more Indigenous foods into our kitchen and onto our plates will help with our health and our wellness and our cultural diversity. Pilamae, and thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy these recipes.
Hello, my name is Wendy and I'm a culinary associate at the Indigenous Food Lab. Today we will be making chicken and nettle pozole. For our recipe today, we will need some vegetable oil, dried and ground sumac berries, some hominy, some chicken, salt, some water, which we have in this pot right here for the blanching of the nettles, and then we will also need some later for the pozole itself. And then you will also need some foraged nettles and some onions. You can also use wild onions if you have, but we don't have those at the moment, so we will just be using regular white onions. Some optional seasonings that you can use in this pozole are bay leaves, which are traditionally used in pozole. You can also use some fresh bergamot and some dried oregano, but you could also use some cilantro or some roasted fresh or canned green chili peppers. The equipment you will need for today is a large pot, a slightly smaller pot for blanching the nettles, a bowl for adding ice water to. You will also need measuring cups, a teaspoon, a tablespoon, a mixing spoon for the pozole. You will also need a strainer. I will be using this one right here. And then you will also need a knife, a cutting board, a can opener to open the can of hominy, and an axis to arrange. So now we will start the process of blanching the nettles. You will want to put on some gloves because if you touch these with your bare hand before they have been blanched, they will sting you and it will itch a little. I'm going to take the nettles. We're just going to do 2 batches at a time, so we're going to add half of this in first. We started boiling the water so that we can add these nettles in. You just want to blanch them for about 30 seconds so that you don't overdo it and you preserve the color of these nettles. And then after that, you will want to take them out and put them in your bowl of iced water. Okay, I think that should be good. We're just gonna transfer this into our ice bowl. Putting them in this ice bowl will stop the cooking process and will cool these nettles down. So we like to use the nettles during the springtime and collect them then. But if you want to save them for a later date, you are going to want to blanch them first so that then you can freeze them and put them away. Once they've cooled down, you're going to want to strain them and then put them aside. Nettles are a great addition to this recipe because they are packed with beneficial vitamins and minerals that improve your health. They have anti-inflammatory properties that help to reduce seasonal allergy symptoms and support healthy blood sugar levels. They are also rich in magnesium, which is a very common nutrient deficiency due to depletion in the minerals of the soil. Magnesium is important for muscle and nerve function and energy production. Chronic deficiency of magnesium can increase risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. They are rich in minerals that support proper electrolyte balance, which is important to energy production, proper hydration, detoxification of waste, and healthy lactation. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the chicken, and for that I am going to change gloves so that there's no cross-contamination going on. I am also going to be using another cutting board so that I don't get the bottom one dirty with raw chicken. If you don't have another cutting board, you can use the same one, but you just have to make sure you wash it with some hot soapy water. I just like cutting the chicken in half would be fine, just so that it cooks properly and doesn't take an hour to cook. I just find that this makes cooking the chicken a lot easier in the pozole. And we're just gonna put this in the bowl and put it aside for later. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the onions. We don't have wild onions, but we are going to be using the white onions, which is definitely fine. We are going to need about half a cup. I think you could do more or less if you want. I'm just peeling off the skin of the onion because we don't want to eat that part. By the way, I do cry a lot when I cut onions. I'm going to dice these onions, and I personally like making them really small. I don't like biting into a big chunk of onion. Yeah, I think that's a good size. Again, it all depends on how you like your onion cut. My favorite onion is the purple onion. It just goes so well with potatoes. That's my opinion. But my mom made this very often for us growing up, especially when we were sick, and that's my favorite part, like the memories that come from eating this and now making it. So I think that's special. Just gonna give that a rough chop. You're just gonna want half a cup. I'm gonna measure it in here. Now we're gonna go ahead and saute the onion. We're just gonna use vegetable oil, this medium pot for just putting everything together. We're gonna put this at a medium heat. Just gonna go ahead and add the oil in. Just gonna move it around so that the oil covers the bottom. Don't do that. Okay, there. I'm just gonna wait for the oil to heat up a little bit. If you have access to them, wild onions are a great addition to any recipe that calls for an onion. Wild onions contain sulfur compounds, which, when ingested regularly, can offer benefits such as lowering your blood cholesterol levels, a tonic for digestion, and tonifying the circulatory system. So this next part is pretty quick, so I'm going to want to make sure I have all the ingredients close by so that I can just put it all together. So I think the oil should be hot enough, and now we're going to add the half cup of onions. We're just going to mix that around a little bit. We're just going to want to cook these for about 2 to 3 minutes until you smell the fragrance coming out of the onions. Now that the onions are ready, we're just going to go ahead and add the 6 cups of water. We're also going to go ahead and add our hominy. And this is canned hominy, so you're going to want to add the liquid and the hominy in. You don't want to drain it, just so it adds more flavor to it. We're also going to go ahead and add the sumac, dried oregano, and we're going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of salt. And at this point, you can also add any of the other optional seasonings that you want, like the bay leaves, which I tend to add when making pozole, but we don't have those at the moment, which is fine. You're gonna want to mix it around, combine everything together. When making pozole, I feel like it's important not to add too much water to it, because if you add too much water to it, then you won't get much of a flavor of the hominy and the chicken and all the other seasonings that you're putting in. So you're just gonna water it down if you add too much water. Okay, so now that everything is well combined, I'm just gonna let it sit and wait till it boils, and I'm going to turn up the heat and get it to a boiling point. So you're gonna also wanna make sure you mix it once in a while. Not too often, but just every few minutes or so. The sumac we are using here is staghorn sumac. a variety of sumac that is widely available here in our region and is high in antioxidants that are protective to the heart and promote healthy cell growth and prevent cancer. However, there are types of poisonous sumacs in other regions, so if you are foraging for sumac, make sure you are using the edible variety. Edible staghorn sumac is covered in fuzz and has dark red berries. Poisonous sumac, on the other hand, has smooth, hairless twigs and bugs. They're white or light green berries. Staghorn sumac should be harvested when the fruit clusters are bright maroon and sticky, ideally in late summer before the plant has seen a lot of rain, which can wash out the color and sour flavor. If you pinch the fruit and it tastes strong and sour, it is ready to harvest. After harvesting, you can let them sit out and dry for a few days. Peel off all the seeds and put them into a mortar or pestle, coffee grinder, or blender, and grind everything up together for a sumac spice. One of the optional seasonings we recommend for this recipe is also forageable, and that is wild bergamot. After picking wild bergamot, you can hang it up to dry, and then once it's dry, make it into a powder to use as a spice all year long. It can be used as a spice similar to oregano. Wild bergamot is rich in vitamin C and dietary fiber, which support immune system health. Wild bergamot also supports healthy circulation and detoxification processes in the body. Now that our pozole is boiling, it is ready for the chicken and the nettles to be added in. Make sure that if you touched raw chicken, you wash your hands after, before touching anything else. So I added in the raw chicken that we have, but you can also use canned chicken. And if you are using the canned chicken, I would recommend just adding that in more towards the end, since it's already cooked. So you're just gonna wanna heat it up and incorporate it at the end. Okay, I'm also gonna go ahead and add the blanched nettles. And remember, because these have been blanched, it doesn't matter if you touch them. You will be fine and you won't be stung. Put that aside. Then mix it up. Now that your chicken and nettles are added in, you're going to want to reduce the heat and simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes or until the chicken is thoroughly cooked. Well, now that this has been simmering for about 20 to 25 minutes, the chicken is ready to be shredded. I know the chicken is ready when you take the chicken and it just kind of shreds by itself. And when you put it on a surface or a plate or something, I'm using a cutting board today, you can just easily shred it apart. You shouldn't use much force when shredding chicken. It shouldn't be that hard. And you're just going to want to shred these into some bite-sized pieces, so however small you want. And if you're using canned chicken, you are also going to want to take that out and maybe just shred it up a little bit. Or when you're done shredding it, you want to make sure you put it back in the pot. But so that the chicken just combines into everything again. As you can see, the nettles look pretty big. So if you wanted, you can cut them into smaller pieces. You can cut up the nettles whenever you want, before or after the blanching, but remember that before the blanching, if you are going to touch the nettles, to make sure you wear some gloves, otherwise you will be stung by the nettle. I've made different variations of this recipe using purslane or using lamb's quarter, and those also turn out really well. And both purslane and lamb's quarter can also be foraged. I prefer the purslane in my pozole because they're just smaller pieces and you can add in the stem to the pozole. You don't have to just take out the leaves. Purslane is actually more available than nettle, and they can be foraged from the beginning of spring till the beginning of fall. Now that the pozole is ready, we can go ahead and plate that up. Now that it's plated up, you can top it off with any toppings that you'd like. Today we are going to be using the wild bergamot. You could also use cilantro, you could also use the green chilies, or you could use some wild onions or regular onions if you want. And the preferred way of serving this is hot, so serve it while it's hot. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed this recipe when you try it out, and we also hope that this inspires you to try indigenous ingredients when you're in the kitchen next time cooking. Thank you.